Welcome to this deep dive where we're going to be tackling the evolving role of the Money Laundering Reporting Officer, or MLRO, in the age of digital finance. When we say digital finance, it's easy to just think about like online banking and stuff, but this goes so much deeper, and the implications for those responsible for compliance are huge.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about it. We've gone from like physical transactions to a world where cryptocurrency transactions can happen like globally in an instant.
Right.
Like that speed and anonymity creates a whole new playing field for MLROs.
Yeah, that's what I find so fascinating about this whole topic. It's not just about like adapting to new technologies.
Mhm.
It's about understanding like a whole new financial ecosystem. So like, what are some of the key differences that MLROs need to grasp like right out of the gate?
I think one of the biggest is like the decentralized nature of digital finance. So with traditional banking, right, you have a central authority, like there's a clear paper trail.
Yeah.
But when you look at blockchain technology, for example, transactions are recorded across a network of computers.
What?
So it's a lot harder to track the flow of funds, especially when you factor in the anonymity that a lot of digital currencies offer.
So it's like trying to find a needle in a digital haystack.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. And this complexity isn't limited to cryptocurrency either.
Oh, right.
Think about the rise of fintech companies and like peer-to-peer payment platforms. These transactions often happen outside of like traditional banking systems, which makes it even more difficult for MLROs to kind of monitor and then identify any suspicious activity.
So how do MLROs even begin to approach compliance in this new landscape? Like, where do you even start?
Well, I think one key area is really understanding the technologies themselves. So MLROs need to be familiar with blockchain, cryptocurrency, trading platforms, the various types of digital wallets.
Wow.
They need to know how these systems actually work and where the potential like vulnerabilities lie.
So they need to become like digital detectives of sorts.
Exactly. They need to be able to follow the digital trail, understand the nuances of online transactions and spot patterns that might indicate money laundering.
Okay, so they need to know the tech.
Right.
But what about the actual process of detecting suspicious activity? Is it just a matter of like scaling up traditional methods?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Traditional methods like manually reviewing transactions are just not enough in the digital age.
I can imagine.
The volume of data is just too vast,
Right.
and the speed of transactions is too fast. So MLROs need new tools to keep pace.
So what kind of tools are we talking about? Give us some examples.
Well, one of the most promising developments is the use of like advanced transaction monitoring systems. These systems can analyze massive amounts of data in real time,
Oh, wow.
looking for unusual patterns and anomalies that might indicate suspicious activity.
It was like having a digital watchdog constantly scanning for trouble.
Yeah, exactly. But it goes beyond simple rule-based systems.
Okay.
We're now seeing the emergence of artificial intelligence and machine learning in the AML space.
AI and machine learning, that sounds pretty futuristic.
Yeah.
How do those actually help with compliance?
Well, these technologies can analyze data in ways that humans simply can't. They can spot really subtle patterns, identify connections, and even predict future behavior.
Wow.
Like, for example, an AI algorithm could be trained to identify accounts that are being used to structure transactions, even if those transactions are spread across multiple platforms and jurisdictions.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But with all this technology, it seems like the biggest challenge for MLROs might not be finding the information, but like managing the sheer volume of it.
You're absolutely right. Data overload is a major issue in the digital age. Every click, every transaction, every online interaction generates data.
Right.
So MLROs are facing a tsunami of information, and it can be incredibly overwhelming.
So how do they keep from drowning in all that data?
Well, that's where automation comes in.
Okay.
Machine learning tools can be used to filter out the noise and prioritize the most suspicious activities. It's all about using technology to work smarter, not harder.
Can you give us a concrete example of how this might work in practice? Like, say there's someone who is trying to avoid detection by making frequent small transfers. How would an automated system flag that?
Okay, so let's say you have someone who is sending small amounts of money to multiple accounts, each just below the reporting threshold.
Right.
A traditional system might not pick up on this pattern,
Right.
but a machine learning algorithm could be trained to recognize this type of structuring behavior, even if it's spread across different platforms and currencies.
Wow.
And then it could flag those transactions for further investigation by the MLRO.
So it's like having a digital detective that never sleeps. always watching for those subtle clues.
Precisely. And that's just one example. These systems can be used to detect a wide range of suspicious activities, from identifying shell companies to uncovering complex money laundering schemes.
It sounds like MLRO is going to need a whole new skill set to thrive in this digital environment. What kind of training or expertise do you think will be essential moving forward?
Well, obviously, a strong understanding of digital finance is crucial.
Right.
MLROs need to be comfortable with technologies like blockchain, cryptocurrencies, online payment platforms. They also need to be able to interpret and analyze data. And that means having some familiarity with data analytics and machine learning concepts.
So it's not just about knowing the law anymore.
Right.
It's about understanding the technology and the data behind it.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just technical skills.
Okay.
MLROs also need to be adaptable and comfortable working in a constantly evolving landscape.
Sure.
The world of digital finance is changing so rapidly, and what works today might not work tomorrow.
Right.
So they need to be able to learn quickly, adjust to new challenges, and think critically about how to apply their knowledge in a really dynamic environment.
It sounds like this role is becoming increasingly complex and demanding.
It definitely is, but it's also an incredibly important role. MLROs are on the front lines of the fight against financial crime, and their work is essential for protecting the integrity of the global financial system.
Well said. We'll dive deeper into the specific challenges and strategies for success in this new landscape after a quick break. We've been talking about all the tools and technologies that MLROs are using to keep pace with digital finance. But I'm curious about the regulatory side of things. Are governments and regulators keeping up with this rapid evolution?
I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. Regulators are certainly aware of the challenges posed by digital finance, and we've seen some significant efforts to strengthen AML regulations in recent years.
Can you give us some examples of those efforts?
Absolutely. One notable development is the European Union's fifth Anti-Money Laundering Directive, or 5AMLD for short. This directive basically extended AML obligations to include cryptocurrency exchanges and custodian wallet providers, bringing them under similar scrutiny as traditional financial institutions.
So they're essentially trying to level the playing field between traditional finance and the digital world.
Exactly. And in the United States, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, has issued guidance on virtual currencies, emphasizing the importance of compliance programs for companies involved in cryptocurrency transactions.
It sounds like regulators are starting to recognize that digital finance isn't some fringe phenomenon anymore. It's becoming mainstream, and it needs to be regulated accordingly.
That's right. And it's not just about applying existing rules to new technologies. Regulators are also having to grapple with new and unique challenges posed by digital finance.
Right.
For example, how do you regulate decentralized platforms where there's no central authority to hold accountable?
Yeah, that's a great point. It seems like regulators are constantly playing catch-up, trying to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of digital finance.
That's a fair assessment. But it's important to remember that regulation is just one piece of the puzzle. It's also about industry collaboration, information sharing, and a commitment to best practices.
Speaking of collaboration, how important is it for MLROs to work with other departments within their organizations and even with other institutions?
Oh, collaboration is absolutely essential. In the digital age, financial crime often crosses borders, industries, and even traditional silos within organizations. MLROs just can't work in isolation. They need to build strong relationships with other departments like IT, cybersecurity, fraud prevention. They also need to be able to share information and coordinate efforts with other institutions, including law enforcement agencies and regulatory bodies.
So it's about building a network, a community of experts who can share knowledge and resources.
Precisely. Because the criminals are already doing that.
Right.
They're collaborating, sharing information, and using technology to their advantage. We need to do the same if we want to stay ahead of the game.
It sounds like the role of the MLRO is evolving from a compliance specialist to something more like a strategic advisor, someone who can help their organizations navigate the complexities of digital finance and mitigate risk.
That's a great way to put it. MLROs need to be able to think strategically about the risks and opportunities presented by digital finance. They need to be able to educate their colleagues, advocate for the right resources, and implement effective compliance programs that leverage the latest technologies.
So for those listening who might be interested in a career as an MLRO, what advice would you give them? What skills and qualities are essential for success in this field?
I think first and foremost, a strong foundation in AML principles and regulations is crucial.
Okay.
You need to understand the legal and regulatory framework within which you're operating, But beyond that, you need to be curious, adaptable, and comfortable with technology. The world of digital finance is constantly evolving, so you need to be a lifelong learner, always willing to embrace new ideas and approaches.
It sounds like a challenging, but also incredibly stimulating career path, one that's constantly evolving and pushing the boundaries.
It definitely is. For those who are passionate about fighting financial crime and who are excited about the possibilities of technology, it's a field with tremendous potential.
Well, before we move on to some final thoughts and takeaways, I want to touch on something we've discussed throughout this deep dive: the rapid pace of change in the digital finance world. How can MLROs stay ahead of the curve and ensure they're prepared for whatever comes next?
No, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Um, I think the key is continuous learning and professional development.
Right.
Attend industry conferences, read industry publications, take online courses, and network with your peers. The landscape is constantly shifting, so you need to be constantly learning and adapting.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the nuts and bolts of digital finance to the evolving challenges and opportunities for MLROs. As we wrap things up, what stands out to you as like the most significant takeaway for our listeners?
I think the key takeaway is that the role of the MLRO is undergoing a fundamental transformation in the age of digital finance. You know, it's no longer just about compliance with regulations. It's about understanding really complex technologies, analyzing vast amounts of data, and then collaborating with a really wide range of stakeholders to mitigate risk in a world that's increasingly interconnected.
It's almost like they're becoming financial intelligence agents.
That's a really good analogy. They need to have a deep understanding of both the financial and technological landscapes and be able to connect the dots between the two.
So for someone who's just starting out in this field, what advice would you give them to prepare for this evolving role?
I would say focus on building a strong foundation in both compliance and technology. So learn the fundamentals of AML regulations and then kind of dive into the world of digital finance.
Okay.
Explore blockchain, cryptocurrencies, online payment systems, data analytics. The more you understand these technologies, the better equipped you'll be to identify and mitigate risks.
So it's all about being proactive and staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to network and learn from others in the field. Attend industry events, join online forums, and connect with experienced professionals. The AML community is a really valuable resource, and there's a lot of knowledge and expertise to be shared.
Collaboration is key.
Absolutely. And as you gain experience, don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. The world of digital finance is constantly evolving, so we need innovative thinkers who are willing to push the boundaries and come up with new and creative solutions to combat financial crime.
So for our listeners who are already working as MLROs, what's one key piece of advice you would give them to navigate this evolving landscape?
Embrace the challenge. This is a really exciting time to be in the AML field. The digital revolution is transforming the way we think about financial crime prevention, and it's creating incredible opportunities for those who are willing to adapt and evolve.
It's not just about keeping up with the changes. It's about leading the way.
Precisely. Be a champion for innovation within your organization. Advocate for new technologies, invest in training and development, and foster a culture of collaboration and information sharing. By embracing change and driving progress, you can help ensure that your organization is well equipped to combat financial crime in the digital age.
Well, this has been a truly fascinating deep dive. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Just this. The fight against financial crime is a never-ending battle, but it's a battle worth fighting. By working together, embracing new technologies, and remaining vigilant, we can create a safer and more transparent financial system for everyone.
Thank you for sharing your insights with us today. This has been an incredibly informative and thought-provoking conversation. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has equipped you with a better understanding of the challenges and opportunities facing MLROs in the age of digital finance. Remember, the future of financial crime prevention is in our hands, and by staying informed, embracing innovation, and working together, we can make a real difference.